Okay, we are at the bottom of Yud Bais Amid Bais. By the two dots, there's like two dots. Be'emes Amru, and then the Gemara says Va'amrit Reisha. So the Gemara brings that they said Be'emes Amru. We said yesterday is usually a halacha l'Moshe Sinai. The halacha l'Moshe Sinai is that sometimes some people call this the Rebbe, some people call it the like the Baal Kaira. In the olden days, the Baal Kaira, it's not so different than today. The Baal Kaira actually used to learn with the children. We had this in the Gemara in Tainus a little bit, and mostly in Bava Basra, that there were different names in the olden days, Reish Duchma, funny names, but the ones that learned with the kids. They didn't say the word Rebbe. It's very interesting. So anyways, the Gemara says that that they said that the only the children are allowed to learn by the light of a lamp, of a nair, and the Rebbe is not. So Gemara asked, it's a contradiction. It's a stira of Amrit Reisha. Didn't you say the Tana of the Mishnah said Raya? He can look where the children are reading, where they're learning. So Gemara said, "My left likros." So doesn't it mean that he also can learn with them? So Morah says, "Loy l'sade Rashi Parshiyos." So all it means is that he helps them to set, let's say it's the Parshas HaShavua, and they don't know how to find Yaakov Pekude. So he helps them to find it, and then that's it. He can't learn anymore. He can't read anymore. So v'chein Amar Rabbi Bar Shmuel. Rabbi Bar Shmuel said the same thing. Avamisadu Rashi Parshiyos. So all he can do is to prepare them so that they can learn. So Morah says v'kula parsha. So does that mean that there's really an isser on him learning the entire parsha? So Meisvei, now we're going to go to Yud Gimel. So Meisvei, the Gemara says kasha. So it's not true. Reb Shimon Gamliel says Hatinoika Shabbos Rabban Misadrin Parshas V'Korin L'Or Aner. So it sounds like that once they figured out where they're supposed to be learning, so they learned everything. So it's a stira. So Gemara says there's two terutzim. Either you could say Rashi Parshiyos when it said that they can learn Parshiyos. So really the Tana meant only Rashi Parshiyos, only the beginning of each one. So the emphasis. So what was the purpose of they learned only by Yaakov Pekude one pasuk in each parsha? Yes, and all they were doing was preparing what they would learn the next day. Because Friday night they weren't really allowed to learn L'Or Aner. They were just preparing what they were going to learn Shabbos morning, which would be by daylight. That's one teretz. V'bayisema shiny tinaikis the hoyel ve'emus rabban aleim. So the children, since they're afraid of their Rebbe, so they're not loyosilatzliye. So they're not going to tilt the nair. In other words, for adults, first of all, we're afraid because there's nobody above us. Let's say people learning b'chavrus or by themselves. So like the Meiser with Reb Tarfin, people are not afraid of anything. But children are afraid of their Rebbe, and the Rebbe is here. So first of all, this makes clear that if the Rebbe is not there, that they don't have this heter. There's a very interesting shita of the Ran and the Ritva. I think a few Rishonim say this, that the reason that they won't tilt is because they'd rather not learn. Nothing changed over the years. That was, if let's say it goes out, it'll go out, or they can't learn, they can't learn. Goodbye, we'll go home now. Nothing changed, even though we're talking about thousands of years ago, the time of the Tanaim. Now, then we go to the halachas of Zav, and from here we're going to go also to the halachas of harchakas by Nida. This Gemara is even more detailed about the harchakas of Nida than the Gemara in Nida that we learned very recently. So now what did the Gemara say? So first of all, the Mishnah had said that a Zav should not eat with a Zava. So that means it sounds like that there are two people there. So the Gemara says, Tanya, we learned in a Bais, Reb Shimon Elazar Omer, Boyurei had heichon parts of Tahara b'Yisrael. By the way, we're going to have a few very interesting, I think, references to Corona in today's Gemara. So the first one is when there are two people. So imagine if you think about this as a spiritual tumah, a spiritual thing, that they're tameh, or some kind of a contamination, like we're talking about today, where two people are too close to each other. So Tani, we learned the Bais Reb Shimon Elazar Omer. He said, "Take a look how far it goes that Klal Yisrael was makbid on tahara. So in other words, min Torah. So there's only certain things that a person has to be careful of, which is either kachim or taharis. But in Klal Yisrael, they kept chulim b'tahara. We'll see this later on a little bit. That today we keep this only during the Aser Simei Tshuva. If you remember, during the Aser Simei Tshuva, it says in the Shulchan Aruch that even people that are not makbid on Pas Yisrael and on Mashal Chol of Yisrael, so they're makbid during the Aser Simei Tshuva. So the Shulchan Aruch also says, Mishabur has a whole discussion that they also are makbid on this thing called chulim b'tahara. Today, it's very hard to keep chulim b'tahara. We're all tamei meis. Everybody goes to a levaya. Even kahanim get tamei once in a while. So we're not really makbid today in chulim b'tahara. So anyway, the Gemara says shaloi shaninu, because we didn't learn in the Mishnah Leichel Torah Matameya, so we didn't say that a person who's tamei can't eat with a woman who's tamei. We're afraid that they're gonna that they're gonna lead when the husband and the wife are one is tamei and the other is not, that they're gonna end up being metamei each other. It's also an interesting reference, like Olena today. Let's say there's a household where one person has the corona and the other person doesn't, so they have to be careful, with masks and with gloves, one from the other as well. So, today we have a tremendous mashal for this Gemara, unfortunately. So the Gemara says, by similarly, zov parush im zov amaretz. So let's say they're both zovim. The parush means over here, I just want to tell you a very interesting thing. The word parush in Lashon HaKodesh, it's called, the Chacham were called the Perushim. I forgot what it's called in English. The Tzedukim were called Sadducees, and our guys were called the Pharisees. Where's the word Pharisee? By the way, by the Christians, that's a dirty word. The Perushim were our Chachamim, and they didn't like our Chacham, the Christians, because they were against Christianity. So they whenever they say the word Pharisees in the Christian world, the so-called New Testament, the Gospel, so it's used derogatorily. It's a pejorative. Oh, the Pharisees. So why were we called Perushim? So there's an interesting mistake. The Christians used it because they thought that the word Perushim means that they separate themselves. Like, Lamosha, what this Gemara seems to imply, that they stay away from us because they're Tahorim and, we're Tahorim and they're Tameim. But Reb Reuven Margolius writes in the Hagdama to his Sefer Netzutze Or and in the Margolius Ayom, many places, he said they were called Perushim because everybody knows they were mefaresh the Torah. They were the original mefarshim. Today, when we say the word mefarshim, we mean Rashi and the Ramban. But who were the original mefarshim? The Chachamim. So when it says over here, Leyechel Azov Parush, it means a from a person. In Zav Amaoret, so as a Parush was like a Chacham, who was a person that was mefarish. He had a Mishnah, he didn't have any Gemara. If it's the time of the Mishnayos, or if it was the time of the Gemara, they didn't have a Gemara. The Gemara hadn't been published or written yet. So, but he was a mefarish. He understood things that the Amoritz didn't. So they shouldn't eat together. Why shouldn't they eat together? Because the Chacham, the Parush, will get used to eating with the Zav. So Gemara says, so what's the big deal? So they're going to be together. What is the Zav, who's a Parush, going to do already? So the Gemara reformulates. It says, we're not really worried about the Parush that he's going to do things wrong. But if he eats with Ramaoretz, so Ramaoretz, I'll give you an example. Bisman Azeh. So there's a very famous, I once had this machlokes when I was out of town with another Rav. So when I came out of town, I happened to have been in Cleveland. So my minhag was that we ate with the Balabatim. So one of the very old Chashuv Rav said to me, he was a Rav at the time in his 80s, he said he never eats with Balabatim. Why? Because we're going back for many years, right? So they would eat, not treif, but if something said a K on it, they weren't makbid. The K means kosher. That's it, Rabbi. That's good enough. So the K is worthless. It's not even a copyrighted symbol. So he told me, how could you eat with them? So I said, I'm very baidik. I check very carefully which hashgachas they use, which hashgachas they don't use. He said, no. So I brought him a riot. The Gemara says in the beginning of Gittin, if you remember, it's machlokes. How do we know that Eid Echad Neman Bisurin. So Taisus holds we learned that from the Safra law that we all trust our wives. They said that they're counting. Today's the seventh day. I'm going to the mikveh. Tomorrow, tonight, I'm okay after I come home from the mikveh. So she's only in Eid Echad. So we learn Eid Echad Neman Bisurin. Rashi holds that it's because what's called Maisim B'chol Yom. We all eat in each other's houses. That was my raya. So he tells me it's no raya. It's no raya. That was Bisman Chazal. Everybody was pretty frum. And over here, the only thing was that a parush was a little bit more knowledgeable than an Amoritz. But today, people are not from. That's what he timed it. I disagree. So anyway, what this Gemara is talking about over here is that we're afraid that the Amoritz, by accident, he's not a bad guy, but he doesn't know halacha, and he's going to mess up. And if the parush is eating, and we'll soon see later on, when people share food and they share, but if they're at the same table, presumably they're sharing the supper.
Rabbi,
So
where are we up to? Sorry.
Oh, Yud Gimel Amid Aleph. We're mamish like still at the beginning. So we're about to say Atu Zov. So Atu Zov. That's I don't know. It's 7, 10 lines down. Atu Zov.
Sorry.
Right, you have it.
Yeah, thank you.
So Gemara says, "Atu zav parush lav dvarim tameim achol." So he says like this: a zav. Now this is tremendously, it's almost like hurtful to say this today with Corona. So the zav, the Gemara says, isn't the zav who's from? So doesn't he eat tamei also because everything he touches is contaminated, right? If a person is tamei, whatever he eats is tamei. So mamish, like that's the mashal today. If a person loyoleno has the virus, whatever he touches is already contaminated. So we're walking around with gloves and masks and everything. It's mamish like today's Gemara. There's another one later on, a much more sharp reference. Rabbi said, so what are we afraid of? Why a zav that's tamei can't eat with who's from can't eat with Amoritz? Again, I use the word from in a context over here. From means that he's not from because he doesn't know anything. The Amoritz, not because he's a bad guy. So where it says, you can't say that a zav that's tamei, the problem is he's going to eat tamei because the Amoritz is going to feed him tamei because he's eating tamei anyway. So the teretz is we're worried that he's going to give him food that was not taken off trumas or meisers. So Gemara says, V'rava. So Rava disagrees. Rava Amar Roiv Amaretz Ma'ashenhem. Roiv Amaretz, even the Amaratzim used to take off Trumas and Maestros, but a minority of them didn't. So Ella, so even that's not a good reason to worry. So you're eating with an Amaretz, don't worry about it. He probably took off Trumas and Maestros. Ella Shemi Rogil Etzloi. So we're worried that they're going to become good friends. In other words, people that eat together, they're going to hang out together. So right now, the Zav is taka tamei, so he's not worried because he's eating tamei because everything he touches is tamei. I guess they didn't have gloves in the old days to eat with. So today, if a person is, clean and he wants to eat with somebody that like his wife, so she's got it or he's got it, she wants to. Everybody wears gloves and they take precautions. Now, you say, there's the Shaila. Now, this gets us into the contemporary Negeya, the whole modern way that husbands and wives separate when she's a Nida. Nida, Mausha, Tishan, and Baila. So the Gemara thought this was before all the Xeris that he bevigda, who bevigdoi. Can a husband and wife who the wife is then in her nidus. So we'll soon see there may be a difference between how she's in nida. Is she still bleeding or she's only in the Zayin Akim? We'll talk about it in the Gemara in a minute. So as long as they're both dressed. So the shaila was that do we need a harchaka that they can't be in the same bed together if they are dressed? So Rav Yosef said, so obviously we're talking about over here harchakas between tum and tahara in general. Now we're talking about harchakas between husband and wife. So the Gemara makes this segue, this connection. So Rav Yosef said, Tashma, we'll bring a raya from the following Mishnah. Ha'oif oilim agvina ala shulchan. So now, over here, we're talking about, I'll tell you an interesting analogy to this from not Corona, but just coming up to Pesach. So that, let's say a person's eating chicken, and there's cheese on the table. So the brisa, Rav Yosef said, this brisa is that you can eat it. We don't do this. We have our chakas on this, and we don't ever put cheese on the table when there's chicken on the table. But he brings that Beis Shammai held that this is mutter. That we'll soon see in a minute, because we already say that you're not allowed to eat meat and milk together. So the Gemara held, at least Beis Shammai held, that chicken is not meat for this purpose, and therefore all you have to do is say, okay, I'm not going to eat chicken with cheese because midaraisa it's mutter, midarabana it's also. But to say that you can't eat it on the same table, that's too much of a gzeira. So over here you'll notice that Beis Shammai is mekel. They're very lenient, and Beis Hillel is machmir. Beis Hillel says, not only that you can't eat it, but it can't be on the same table. So anyway, so you see l'chayra from over here that the Gemara brought a raya to this shaila about nida, because the question is, to what extent do we make zayris? Where it says no, shiny husm over there it's different by milchiks and fleishiks, the lekadeus, because when you have over there on the table, there's one person there's only one person eating. He's eating fleishiks, and there's milchiks on the table, so nobody's going to remind him. But when there's two people, like the husband and wife, shtei deis means people remind each other. That's the nature of human beings. And a husband and wife, by the way, are supposed to remind each other. I just want to mention over here that it says in the beginning when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam and Chava. I'm just going to make a bracha.
Amen.
I can't fast, Rabbi. I'm sorry. So I'm not allowed to. So
I was going to ask the Rav, are we supposed to fast till Chatzos?
So the Anshe Knesset, actually, not exactly.
I didn't eat yet. I don't know if I should have asked after I ate, but I didn't eat yet.
Yeah. The Mayatzis Gdalei HaTorah is said to do it, but that's not Machayev everybody. It depends. If a person is healthy and capable, so they suggested a tinus. I'm not from the biggest fans of only a tinus. In other words, it has to come with a lot of other things, and the other things are more important. Tshuva and Maisim Tovim, etc., etc. So if a person can fast, it's a good thing, and it's only a half a day.
So
I'm
fast and say Yom Kippur Katan?
My doctor does not let me, except for the big Tanesim. The Tanis Tzivos.
We should fast and say Yom Kippur Katan? That's what it said on the letter.
Yeah, but by the way, for Yom Kippur Katan, the person doesn't have to fast. You can do Yom Kippur Katan without fasting. So it means right now we're in an Eis Tzara, and everybody should do as much as they can to get us all out of the Eis Tzara. So it's fasting, Tshuva, Maisim Tovim, and today Yom Kippur Katan.
Rabbi Feitman?
Yes, sir.
What's the comparison in the Gemara between Chalav, Ofim Chalav, and the Nida? I mean, you have the Taiva,
so we're going to come. You're always mechaven to the Gemara. The Gemara is going to talk about the taiva between husband and wife. So actually, I was just talking about that, because when the Gemara says over here shtei deis, shiny huslam deleka deis, that when there's only one person, there's milchiks and fleishiks, so nobody's going to remind him. So, but by two people, so the assumption is that even right now, we'll talk about it more later, that even though there's a husband and there's a wife and there's a taiva, and there's not only taiva, but there's a certain sense that there's a familiarity. So we're afraid. But on the other hand, one may be, like if one says, let's do it, the other one says, no, what do you mean? It's us. So that's called deis. So that outweighs the problem of being in the same bed. That's what the Gemara thought now. Obviously, the halacha is not like that. Over the centuries, we started to be makbid tremendously against this. Now the Morah says, Hochanami Mistabra, it also makes sense that when there's two people, and for instance, let's say there's two people that are eating together, so one will remind the other, oh, no, I'm sorry, I can't eat your cheese, or I can't eat your salami. Why? Because they're going to remind each other. And the same thing is with husbands and wives. The Katani Seifa, because it says in the Seifa, Rab Shim Gamliel Oimer, Shnei Achsan Yoim, Oichlum al Shulchan Echad. Now we'll soon see like this. There's two people in a hotel, and they're both eating, and there's only one table. Ze'echel Basav, Ze'echel Gvina, Ve'chayshushin. So at this point, the Gemara thought that we're never worried about two people sharing a table because they're each eating their own supper. But the Gemara says, no, V'laiv Itma, didn't we learn about this? That's not true. Amr of Chanan Bar Ami, Amr Shmuel, Lishanu, Elo She'ein Makirin Zezeh. This is in the Shulchan Aruch today also. This is the halacha, that the only time two people can share, if one's eating fleishiks and one's eating milchiks, is then when they don't really know each other. And I'll tell you in a minute, by cafeterias and school lunch places, etc., lunchrooms, this is very negeya. But when people are familiar with each other, so they're not allowed to eat together. So lamashal, let's say in a school cafeteria, or kids that are away at college, etc., etc. So there's a lot of people eating there, and some people eating fleishiks, some people eating milchiks. But if you're sitting with somebody you have no idea who they are, so there's no chance. It's very unlikely that people are going to share their meal. But if you're sitting with your friend around, let alone at your family table. So you share. You say, oh, can I have a piece of that? You're going to forget. So the Gzeira goes that only when people are makir each other is it a problem, but makir said there's no problem. Versus Vahaninami, and now Gemara goes back to the analogy of Nida and her husband. Makirim says and Ninu, where it says they know each other. So that's what David just said. So what are you talking about? The husband and wife more than know each other. They have relations normally. So aren't we worried that they are going to fall into an avera? So Mamela is like this: the people that can't eat together. So Anita and her husband should not be allowed to sleep together. So how could you say that they could sleep in the same bed? So Morah says no. By the way, in the olden days, it seems that the mamish did not have two beds. We'll get into this in a minute. How could you compare the husband and wife to the people that are eating? When it talks about these people that are in a hotel, deis ikashinu leka. So yeah, you do have two people, but there's nothing to remind them. There's no hecker on the table. We hold today, by the way, that of course a husband and wife, when they're eating together, have to have a hecker on the table. Marshall, there's never a vase with flowers, so they put a vase on the table. It has to be something that stands up. That's why I'm saying a vase can't be something flat. You can't put down, oh, I never have a Rambam on the table, so the Rambam will be a reminder. That's not good. You can't see it. So you have to have a hecker. And the same thing, two people that are eating together, fleishiks and milachiks, and they makirim zez, so we're worried that they're going to eat from each other. They have to have a hecker on the table. So the interesting thing is that's where
is there a minimum height requirement?
The height is only that you can see it as opposed to flat where it just disappears from your eye. But yes, the answer is a tefach. A tefach up. A tefach is about 4 inches. Like that. Yeah, a fist plus your thumb. You got it. Very good. That's good that we have a picture.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah. All right. So let's go weiter. So I just want to make sure it's a big daf. So Gemara says Hasam the deis ikashinu leka. So when the people are at the table, so apparently there are two people, but they didn't have a shinu yet. They hadn't made up this Gemara Nida that we discussed a couple of months ago, so that they didn't have yet. But hacha by the husband and wife ikadeis vikashinu. So first of all, there are two people, and second of all, the very fact that they're dressed reminds them that the Gemara says that over here a little bit later on, but I'll mention it now, that the olden days there were no such thing as pajamas. We find this many times in the Gemara, that when somebody's asleep in bed, there's always an assumption that he's touching here, he's touching there. What's the pshat? Because they didn't wear anything. The day garment was something you wear, and at night you wear nothing. So Mamelu, once the husband and wife are in bed with clothing, so there's two people. First of all, they'll remind each other that she's a nida, and second of all, they're already dressed, so that's a shinui. So the Gemara says like this: Ikadi Amri, another pshat Toshma will bring a right from the following brisa. I'm not Mishnah. This is now Mishnah. Two people that are in a hotel at the same table. So one is eating meat and one is eating cheese. But we learn when are you allowed to do that? Omar Shmuel, the only time they're allowed to eat together and they're both eating things that they're not allowed to mix, one's eating fleishiks, one's eating milachiks, so that is only if they don't know each other. Because we're afraid that they're going to share. And my kids also, it's the same thing when they're at a table, as I said, in a lunchroom. You got to assume that if the two girlfriends, two chavrusas, let's say, that they're going to share the food by accident. And over here also, when we said that it's that the husband and wife that they're not allowed to be in the same bed, is because they more than know each other. It's at the very least makirin zezeh. We should even say it's a kal v'chomer. It's more than makirin zezeh. They're intimate with each other. So Gemara says, no, it's no raya either. Hasam deis ikashinu leka. So we said that when the people are just eating food, so it's true that there's two people, but there's no shinu. The Gemara again had not invented yet the idea of a hecker. But over here, by the married people, ikadeis vikashinu, because first of all, there are two people, which is good, and second of all, they have the hecker that they're dressed, they're wearing clothing. Morah brings another riot. Tashma says in the Mishnah that the zav and the zav should not eat together because it could lead to sin. Because if they're husband and wife, so they're usher to eat to have to have relations when one is a zav and one is a zav. We'll soon see why we need both. So the problem is over there that there's nothing because they're eating in the normal way, so they're going to end up doing the wrong thing. But over here by sleeping they're wearing clothing, so it's no riot. Morah says Tashma will bring another riot. It says like this. There's a pasuk. El hehorim lo'ochal ve'enov lo'nosel glule beis Yisrael. So the Navi says over here, if you have the pasuk, so it's a pasuk in Yecheskel. So he's talking about who's a good person. So he says that he doesn't eat by the mountains. So what does it mean over here? So many Mefarshim learn that the mountains refers to the Avram, Tzvi, Yaakov. They are called Zeharim, our mountains. And he doesn't chas v'shalom worship idols. He's not Ovid Avodah Zarah. That's Eishes Re'eu Loitima, and he was not. He never had relations with chas v'shalom, with adultery with somebody else's wife. And then it says Velisha Nido Lo Yikraf. So now the pasuk in Yecheskel lumps together adultery with a woman who's a nida. He doesn't even come close to her. So here we're going to get into machlokas, the Rambam and the Ramban in a minute. Makish isha nida le'eshes reyeh. So you see that there's a direct hekesh. The pasuk lumps them together: adultery and a woman who's a nida. That means that what? Ma'eshes reyeh who bebigda aser. A person's chas v'shalom never allowed to lie down on a bed with somebody else's wife, even if they're both clothed. Right? They're both wearing clothing. Afish nida who bebigda v'hi bebigda aser. So it's also for a husband. Now we're coming down to the way that we do it today. Shema. So you see that a husband and wife, they have to have separate beds, even if they're dressed. So this isser of the pasuk vel isha nida lo yikrav is really a deraisa. This Gemara brings a pasuk in Yecheskel, but it says that in the parsha of Arayis in Parshas Kedoshim, so it says lo sikrav. So the machlok is the Ramban. The Ramban holds it to the Raisa, and the Rambam holds it to the Rabbanan. So all the harchokas that we have by Anida, so Anida is as usher as Eishes Re'eu, as in somebody else's wife. But on the other hand, the question is about the harchokas. So the Ramban holds that even going near a woman who's Anida, that means going near, being in the same bed, or hugging and kissing, all those things are the Raisa. And the Ramban holds it to the Raisa. The Rambam holds it to the Rabbanan. Now, upligi the Repidas. So this machlekes follows a machlekes about Rabbi Pedas. So Rabbi Pedas was very makel. Rabbi Pedas said like this: Rabbi Pedas kurva shegili arais bilvat. The closeness, that means that you're not allowed to have midaraisi. You're only not allowed to have a raya by an erva. So the only thing that's usher is mamish bia. Shenema ish al kol sheir b'sarei lesikruvu legalis erva. The only thing that's usher is legalis erva. So, but everything else, like for instance, to be in a bed together, even without clothing, so that's only a derabanan. So therefore, if a husband and wife are dressed, so according to Rabbi Pedas, there wouldn't be even a derabanan because the deraisa is only bia. So midiraisa it becomes asur for an erva midiraisa bia, and midirabanan to be in the same bed. But husband and wife when they're wearing their clothing, so there's no issur at all according to Rabbi Pedas. Now we don't hold like this. We don't pass like Rabbi Pedas, but obviously there is such a shita. Now ula kiavi osimi beiraf. This is a very, very sensitive topic over here. Apparently his sisters were adults and he used to kiss them like on the chest. The Amrilo Abe Yadai, some say no, it wasn't that bad. He kissed them on the hands. Now the Chassam Sofer holds that this whole thing is just one big mushal, and I think the Grua holds the same thing because it says Amor lachachma achoisiot. The pasuk says in Mishlei, say to Chachma, you are my sister. Because just like you know your sister well, so you know your Chachma well. Just like you love your sister, you love your Chachma, you love your learning. So here also, Ula wasn't talking about actual real sisters. But most Achronim disagree with these Achronim, and they hold that we're talking about Ula was mamish not worried about kissing his sisters at all. And the Gemara says that it seems to be a stira in Ula. So we'll soon see that not everybody's allowed to do this. This is
They're
one of
both
the only.
abnormal places to kiss someone, though.
What do you mean?
There's two places that are not common where people kiss other people when you greet them, when you see them, or anyway.
Well, on the hands. In the olden days, to kiss somebody's hands was pretty normal. But the question over here is something, another part of the body is what's unusual.
Right, that's completely.
So now you'll see that this is one of the only places, in my opinion, where you find in Chazal that the Tana or the Amaru was makel for himself and machmir for everybody else, because he knew that he's a tzaddik, he's not going to worry. Let's see what happened. Gemara asks a Stephen Ula from what he said to what he did. The Amar Ula said, "I feel shum kurva asur. You're not allowed to get close between a man and a woman." Mishum, why? Lech, Amri Nazira. We say to the Nazir, go away, schar, go around. Lekarmel Sikrov, don't go near the vineyard. So in other words, that's to a Nazir because he's usher in drinking wine or in eating grapes. So we tell him, don't even go near a vineyard. So over here also, it sounds like that Ula was not consistent, and maybe there was even, it sounds like Chas V'Shalom, a little bit of hypocrisy. So if you look in Taisvus says that Ula was a tzaddik. We'll just take one quick little thing over here. The last Taisvus on Yud Gimel Amraf on the bottom. For who are you today? He would never think even the wrong thing. Tzaddik Gomor Hoya. He was a tzaddik Gomor. He was perfect. So like I said, it's very big chiddush that Ula did this sort of almost like publicly, because that way he's proclaiming himself to be a tzaddik. But it could be he was like, Reb Moshe Feinstein, the God Ladar. Everybody knew that he was the God Ladar. Okay, let's just finish up. The Amid, rather. Tana de Be'el Yo. Now, some say that Elyo Navi has said this, and that's Tana de Be'el Yo. We have a sefer called Tana de Be'el Yo. Others said that there was a Tana named Elyo. It wasn't Elyo Navi. So, Ma'aseh b'Talmud Echad. So it sounds to me always like this is more Elyo Navi, but, Chas V'Shalom, I can't disagree with those that say that it was a regular person also. So, Ma'aseh b'Talmud Echad, so it was not Ma'aseh with a certain Talmud. Shoshana Harbe. He learned a lot of Mishnayos. The Korah Harbe, and he learned a lot of Tanakh. V'shimish Tamid Chacham Harbe, and he learned by many Rebbeim. Umeis b'chatzi yomim v'lo. He died in midlife. He died very young. It tells Tefillin, his wife was very upset. So his wife used to bring his tefillin. Why is tefillin? Because in the tefillin it says the parashiyos of that you're going to live long. She had a tiny, she brought it around to all of the Gedolim. She said to them, the Torah says that if you wear tefillin, you're going to live a long life. So who is this? A person that learned a lot. He learned a lot of Mishnayos, and he learned a lot of Tanakh. And Vishimish Tamid Chacham Harbe, and he also was Mishamish Tamid Chacham Neimames Mechatzi Yom. So she asked the classic question: why did he die young? He was a tzaddik. Nobody knew what to answer her. However, Pam Achas Nis Arachti. So who's talking? Elyo Navi's talking, right? So he says, I was by her. Apparently, she was Zeicha, was a good lady. She was Zeicha to Gili Elyo, according to this one shot. She told the whole story about her husband. Listen how tough Elyo was, whoever this Elyo was. If he was a Tana or he was a Tana Bey, the Elyo was a Elyo Navi. So I asked the Biti, my daughter, was he careful about you when you're a Nida? Armali, so she said, Chas v'Shalom, I feel say, he didn't even touch my finger, right? Even my little finger. So so now he said like this. Oh, that's when you were Nida. So in the Gemara, the Lashon is, remember we had this in Masechta Nida, there's two times. One is when the woman is mamish bleeding, that's called Nidus, and one is called Bimei Libunech. We don't make this distinction today. That when she's wearing her Zayin Nikiyim clothing, which means she's wearing white, right? So I asked her, so what about Bimei Libunech Ma'u? Did he touch you when you were when you're not bleeding? In other words, it's called Shefas, and the Gemara is in Nida. She's not flowing. Avol we ate together, and we lay in the bed without clothing. Bikir also means the flesh touching flesh. Also, but he never thought about chas v'shalom doing the bad thing, and it was of having bia. But my Lord, I told her, Baruch hamakom sha'arogay. Wow, look at this tough thing. Blessed is Hashem, right? Because Baruch Hu has a bracha shalinasa upon him that he killed him shalinasa upon him Torah, because your husband was not respectful to the Torah. The Torah says, well, you should be next to Masa like Sikrav. Now we get into that machlokes Rishonim again. So is this a deraisa or the Rabbanon? So the Rishonim have machlokes the Rambam, the Ramban, if it's a deraisa or the Rabbanon. But this Gemara says doesn't matter. Either way, it comes from the Torah, and he shouldn't have been in the bed with his wife when she's a nida, even because she didn't go to the mikveh. It doesn't matter that she was not bleeding anymore. We don't make such a distinction. But he apparently didn't know that. What?
How do we understand Ula?
So what do you mean? So Ula was a tzaddik gomer. So Ula, it was his sister. So it was by a husband and wife. So it's more of a chashash, like you mentioned before. My husband and wife said they're rugel etzlam. They're familiar with each other. They're intimate with each other. He was never intimate with his sister, chas v'shalom. The only question was, she's an erva, a sister's an erva. Can he kiss her? So he had no hirhurim. That was Taisus' chiddush, that he had no hirhurim, bad hirhurim whatsoever. So the emes is that the Mefarshim say, just to answer your question about Ula, the Mefarshim say that the Anshe Knesset Agdala killed the Yetzer Hara for ervus, except for Nida, because that's a Nida is a wife. We do have we'll soon see later, a little bit later on. We do have a hero towards our wives when their need is the only things we're careful and we don't touch them. But for a sister, he didn't have a hero, and other people that there's a harchaka, you don't even kiss your sister. So Shalos, you're allowed to kiss your sister. So the Rambam doesn't say it's us. The Rambam says shayta Russia v'gas ruach. The Rambam says it's a foolish thing to do, but he also says Russia, by the way. So, but we're not all Ula. That's what Taisu says. Now, all right. He also when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael, so he said Mita Chada Havoi. No, the problem was that they were in the same bed. So this person, this Chaser Echad, he was a good guy. He thought that it was mutter. But by my Rav in Eretz Yisrael, they said Amar of Yitzchak by Yosef. Sinor. It says that. She wore mafsik beinol v'no. We would call this probably underwear, but they used to wear these like short pants. And once she was wearing that, so he thought that okay, she's dressed, and he didn't think that it's bikir of bas or mamish. But l'maisa, of course, today we are much more machmir than this. Okay, so now. Let's go to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Ve'elu heinman halachas." Now, these are the halachas. What does this mean? We're gonna probably go into it much more tomorrow. Mitzvah Hashem. She'amru b'aliyas Chananya ben Chizkiya ben Garin. So we had before Chananya ben Chizkiya ben Garin that he was learning Yecheskel. So why was he learning Yecheskel? Shaolu Levakroy. They went to visit him, and he was, as we'll soon see, he was trying to save the Sefer Yecheskel from being buried, because they found a lot of steers in the Sefer Yecheskel, and they were going to get rid of it. We wouldn't have Sefer Yecheskel. We'd have 23 instead of 24 Sefer Kodesh. So Nimnu, so they took a vote, and they said, V'robu Beishamei Beisol. So usually Beisol had the majority, but that time, it was just a fluke. I mean, obviously there's no coincidences, but people from Shammai and people from Hillel, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, right, went to visit this Chananya, and it turned out that day there were more people from Shammai than Hillel, and the Shammaites won, and they put in 18 gzeros, which we still have today, many of them. Ushman Asadavar. Dvarim Gozru by Bayon. So that day they made 18 gzeros. What were the 18 gzeros? We'll see in a minute, but that's the Mishnah. So now the Gemara says tomorrow we're going to do most of the 18 gzeros. So the Gemara says, Amalei Abaylu Rav Yosef Elu Tanan Oy Ve'elu Tanan. So what did it mean? Did we say that it's Elu or Ve'elu? So what's the pshat? Ve'elu Tanan, the Gemara explains, Hani Da'amaram. So then it means what we already said before in the previous Mishnah. Oy Elu Tanan, now we're going to say the 18, the Be'ina L'Neima Kaman that we're going to say. So now the Gemara says we'll bring a proof to which it is. Was it what we were talking about before, or are these going to be new halachas? Tashba, we learned in a Bais. And poilin l'oraner, that's what we learned before, right? That you're not allowed to take the lice out of your clothing by a lamp that we're afraid that you're going to tilt. Then kar l'oraner, you're not allowed to learn l'oraner. Ve'elu min halachas she'amru ba'aliyas Chananya ben Chizki ben Gard. That's where they were mechadish when the Chachamim were visiting Chananya in the attic. So where it says Shema Minos, you can see from here that's ve'elu tanam, that we're talking about the things that we learned before. Shema Minah, so that proves the Shaila that we're talking about some of the halachas that we had before, so plus a couple of new halachas. Now, Tanarbana, we learned in a Bais, what do we learn like this? Mi kos of Megillus Tainus. So they said there's a sefer called, now this is very negated today, the corona. You'll see in a minute, Mamish Peloploim. So mi kos of Megillus Tainus. There's a sefer called Megillus Tainus that has a lot of Yom Tovim that, remember we were talking before about whether or not we should fast today. The Master Deltar said to fast. So they had fast days when there was a tzara, but when there was a tzara and then the tzara was over, they made a Yom Tov. So there's a whole bunch of these Yom Tov. Most of them are forgotten today. The only one we have, by the way, is Purim. There was a Yom Tov because we got out of the tzara of Haman. So Chanani Mechizki v'Siyasa Omru, they say like this: Chanani Mechizki v'Siyasa. He's the one that wrote it. Why? They were very happy with their tzaras because they could do tshuva, and it brought them to tshuva. That's today, Rabbi say. We have the tzara over here of corona, and we have to not chas v'shalom kvetch or complain. We should say thank you to the Rabbi Shalom. But on the other hand, when it's going to be over, it's going to be a big yom tov. So Amr Reb Shimon ben Gamliel said, we love the tzaras too. If we would write all of them down, anyone must speak him, we'd never be able to have so many Yom Tovim at the end of the tzara. Because already in the time of Reb Shimon Gamliel, which was a generation or later, so he said there was so much tzaras that we can't fast so much and we can't celebrate so much when it's over. Dover Achadi, where it says another pshat, Ein Shoyte Nifka, a person who's foolish, so he doesn't get attacked. What does that mean? Because he doesn't notice. He's a fool. He doesn't realize what's happening. That's what I was mentioning about Corona today. Dover Acha, Ein Besar Hameis Margish Be'izmil. A person who's dead, he doesn't feel the cut of a knife, because he doesn't feel. So we are so jaded and we're so blunted by all of the tzaras, we don't even think about it, except this was something that's so universal and so global, and it hits so many people that it's starting to affect us. But otherwise, very often, so I just tell you that there's a famous Meister Chafetz Chaim in the 1920s, said there was a tsunami. And the Chafetz Chaim declared a tainus. So they said, what do you mean? There's no Yidden over there. He said, what do you mean? Everything happens for us. And how did this whole thing start, at least in the United States? It started in a shul. It started with a Rav. It started with Erlich Yidden. So it's a raya that this is all for us. Where it says, it's not true. What do you mean that a dead person doesn't feel anything? Rav Yitzchak said, that the worms that eat up a dead body, a corpse, are so difficult. In other words, they hurt so much. So apparently a mace feels something. It's like a needle when a person that is alive gets stuck. Shenemak, it says in the pasuk, Ach b'soroi olav yichav, that v'nafsho olav tavo, the neshama, it's misabel. The neshama, when a person dies, loyolenu, so the neshama is hanging around, and the neshama is in avelus over the guf. So you see that what do you mean that the guf does feel something? So how could you say that the guf doesn't feel anything? So Morah says no. Ema, that we weren't talking about a corpse. When a person has dead flesh, like for instance hanging flesh that's coming off anyway, so a person doesn't feel anything because there's no nerves over there. Now, what we're talking about, Chananya, who was he? Yehudah Rav. Remember him very fondly. Who, if not for him, Nignas Sefer Yecheskel. So why would they have buried Yecheskel? Because there were a lot of contradictions. So what did he do? He brought up 300 barrels of oil. So that would mean like today a lot of bulbs. Because he wanted to learn Yom V'Layla until he solves all the problems. And he sat in this attic, and he darshan, he kept writing down, oh, this is a contradiction. No, it's not a contradiction because of this. And they're all in the Medrash, by the way. Now the Mishnah had said that when they were up there, the Anshe Beis Shammai won, and they made 18 Xeris, not all of which Beis Hillel agreed with, but they had the majority that day. So now Gemara says, what were these 18 things? So this man, we learned in a Mishnah, so we'll just learn a little bit of it today, just another minute or two, then we'll continue tomorrow. What are the 18 things? So this now we learned in a Mishnah. Now this Mishnah, Mirza Hashem, we're going to learn most of it, but this is a Mishnah in Taharis and Zavim. The last Mishnah is Zavim. So it says like this: Elu Paislas at Truma. So the following 10 things make Truma puzzle when it comes in contact with it. Ha'oichel rishon. If somebody's eating something that's a rishon l'tuma, so the person that becomes tamei with a sheni l'tuma, and that makes the Truma not edible, not chulin, but truma, only truma. If a person eats a sheni l'tuma, so that also, because by trumas and kachim, there's a shlishi. We're going to go into this tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. And a person that drinks liquids or beverages that are tamei, so the person that drinks it becomes a sheni l'tuma. Now this was negeya this year at the mikvayos. I'll tell you in a moment that a person that takes a shower in Maim She'uvim, so that he becomes automatically Tameh. So the reason is, Rashi brings that this Maim She'uvim, so if a person goes to the mikveh, you're not allowed to take a shower right away, because we'll learn it tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem inside, because the Amaratzim started to think that it was the shower that was the Iker. So they made a gzeira that a person becomes Tameh. So because you shouldn't take a shower right after, you can take a shower at home, but not at the mikveh. So this year, because of we do the opposite. Mostly, a woman comes to the mikveh and she takes a shower. She does her preparations. But now we want to keep people out of the mikvahs. They shouldn't be in there too long just to be taival. So the women were told just this year, not even just this year, till Corona's over, to do all their preparations at home. Then they come to the mikveh. They take a shower at home, but they leave their hair wet, and then they uncomb it with a comb at the mikveh. That was the takana that we did this year. So it's the exact opposite. In other words, that there are no showers now at the mikveh at all. So this it almost like changes the game. It's a game changer. Now
this is only for women, right?
This is only for women. The men's mikvahs are closed. Yeah.
No. I'm saying as far as taking a shower right after the Amaratzim, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, because our men's mikvahs are not deraisa anyway, so we didn't make any gzeris, right? Now,
there's no issue with taking a shower right after. Immediately
this is the next one, but listen, this is the next mamish. You're up to the next one. The next one is, we're just going to finish up now. B'tor shenafla roisha v'rubai, and a person who's tahar, but he took a shower of maim she'uvim. So shleish lugam maim she'uvim. So you had 3 lugam maim she'uvim. So they said that you're going to become tamei. So people shouldn't forget that it's not the shower. V'asefer. Now also we're going to talk about this tomorrow a little bit. That the svarim, a person was not supposed to touch svarim with his bare hands. So Rashi mentions it. Okay, by yodayim and unrinsed hands, people that didn't wash their hands, they used to make them a sheni l'tuma, vatful yoim. Maybe we'll just finish up with this. Vatful yoim, and a person that he went to the mikveh that day, but he didn't. The sun didn't go down yet. Va'ochlim va'kelim shenitmu b'mashkin, and foods that became tamei with liquids. Okay, I think we're going to stop over here, even though we're in the middle of Tumah V'Tara, but we'll continue B'lineda tomorrow, and we'll also discuss every one of the Shemona Esrei Dvarim. Okay, sorry, I want to do a little bit more halacha. We'll do a little more halacha l'maisa tomorrow. Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach.
So what does Rabbi suggest besides for Yom Kippur Katan and fasting?
I hold Lanias Daiti that a haisafa in learning is the best thing, because the pasuk says, Shlomo says, "Rifus tehila shadecha v'shikui latz v'secha." That means that the Torah is a refuah for everything. So let's say people that are sick that can't learn, we should learn for them. We should learn for ourselves that we shouldn't chas v'shalom become contaminated. Learning Torah. That's what we're doing now. Try to do it during the day. Lanias Daiti.
Just want to thank the Rav for the opportunity to learn.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. Everybody should
keep it going. Oh, I have one more question.
Okay.
Always have one more question.
Sure.
What's a Shabbos is daf? We're gonna do a matzah Shabbos.
So Shabbos is daf. What do we say? Shabbos we're gonna do when? Matzi Shabbos. Matzi Shabbos. Yeah, Matzi Shabbos. We're gonna sit down. We'll give it time tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Okay, when it's good for everybody.
Okay.
All right. Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah, Matzah Shabbos is fine.
What's
Just,
that? I mean, none
We're
of
not
us are
going
going.
anyplace.
Nobody's going no place, right? So
I
okay.
don't know where to go.
Yeah. All right. So
Preferably at
we'll,
bedtime. Preferably when my wife wants me to give the kids a bath. That's when I prefer to do the daf.
so we'll talk tomorrow. I can't even do it now anyway. I have to give a tag share. But Mitzvah Hashem Matzi Shabbos. We'll discuss Matzi Shabbos when everybody put the kids to bed. V'chule, and maybe she'll help. It should be a schus for everybody. Okay. David, Mazel Tov again. David, Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov. Get some Mazel Tov. Okay, Baruch Hashem. The simcha should continue. Have a good day, Kotzes.